Hi, my name is Emma, and this is my leadership reflection for both modules 2 and 3, starting with the difficult conversations simulator. I thought about someone I interact with fairly regularly who I disagree with on several social and political issues. While we both feel strongly about our perspectives, the simulator made me realize that I often enter a conversation already preparing my response instead of fully listening to understand. But for context, I do go to a Bible study once a week, and you can imagine the sort of person you meet there. And if you're not fully on their side, you are outnumbered, and you have to be yeah. One major takeaway for me was the importance of separating the person from the issue. Just because we disagree doesn't mean that we lack respect from each other. The simulator emphasized approaching disagreement with curiosity instead of defensiveness. And as a leader, I think it's critical because leadership often involves navigating tension. If I want to lead effectively, I have to model civility, emotion, regulation, and empathy. Especially when conversations are uncomfortable moving forward, I want to focus on asking more open-ended questions and trying to understand the values behind someone's opinion, rather than just debating on surface-level arguments. Next, reflecting on my Clifton strengths, my top 5 strengths are achiever, consistency, discipline, learner, and harmony. Looking at these again helped me think about how I contribute to a team. For example, my strength, consistency, helps me by ensuring that when I say I'm going to do something, it gets done, and that people know when they go to me for help, there will be a result of that conversation. I naturally tend to be a very reflective person. That is because how I was taught to be a leader includes having both weekly and monthly meetings where all members of the team are asked to give feedback and report back, and because of that I try to make sure that I act on and respond to what people are telling me. However, I also realize that some strengths can become weaknesses if overused. For example, with harmony, I sometimes decide not to take sides if I'm not entirely certain what's going on, and in those instances it's trying to keep the peace instead of trying to find a solution can complicate things. This reflection helps me see that collaboration isn't just about bringing strengths to the table, it's about knowing when to step back, invite others in, and balance my own tendencies, because I am not perfect as a person. Understanding my strengths allows me to be more intentional in team settings instead of just being on autopilot. For my team organization, I reflected on my involvement with Scouting America, or Boy Scouts of America. It depends on how politically correct you want to be. The common purpose of this group is service and leadership development for all members of the organization. When I really thought about it, I realized when our team functions well, it's because we relied on a shared purpose, either that is self-betterment or just really cool camping trip. If everyone agrees on what the goal is, it goes really, really well. Communication improves, people are more motivated, and conflicts feel smaller because we know what we're working towards. However, when we lose sight of that purpose, misunderstandings increase and productivity decreases. There have been so many camping trips where someone's like, ooh, this one joke, and then everyone's telling the joke, and you have to be like, hey, we don't have phones on us, and I am old and don't know what 6-7 means, so we have to try to not count anymore, I guess. Looking at the active citizen continuum, I would currently place myself at the level of conscious citizen. I choose this level because I try to know what I'm involved in as I help, and it's always well, what's the purpose, if that makes sense. This activity challenged me because it made me consider whether I am participating or if I'm working towards the long-term goal, because as fun as it is to have a bunch of willing volunteers, if they don't really know what they're doing, you're not utilizing all those volunteers. To grow in this area of leadership, I would need to I guess, be more involved again, which I was for years, but now I'm aged out, so I don't really have a leadership outlet anymore. Leadership and citizenship requires sustained commitment, not just occasional action. This reflection pushed me to think about how I can move beyond comfort and become more intentional with contributing to my community. Finally, the community mapping activity helped me visualize all the communities that have shaped me, including my family, schools, scouting, and my friends, or my church, I guess. I am Catholic. The communities that impacted me most were probably scouting and my family, just because they shaped my values, they shaped how I view things, and they are sometimes scouting more so than my family, where I spend the most of my time. And also because it built me up in confidence in public speaking. I know I'm not doing that great, but just imagine like a frail, shivering child at the thought of speaking, and then I'm actually getting words out of my mouth. So improvement. For example, I never would have thought of like how interesting I find leadership as a concept and all of the moving parts until joining scouting, and then further than that, going to leadership camp and then staffing at leadership camp. And it is now like such a part of my life where like I see like the stages of team development, and I see like the EDGE method and all of these scouting things that, yeah, I'm a fan.